Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So I'm making the second video in a row because I absolutely had to share this because this is the problem with this industry summarized into a short video. You know who is the laughingstock in trucking? Everybody except for shippers. Shippers laugh at brokers, brokers laugh at carriers, and carriers laugh because they can't cry anymore. So let's chat about this bogus situation that Overdrive covered today. Ready? Let's go! So before we dive into this, I have to mention that we all have a tendency to point the finger and say this is that person's fault. Carriers are blaming other carriers for taking cheap rates and therefore driving the market down. Carriers are saying that brokers are getting paid some crazy rate per mile and then selling it off to carriers for almost nothing. Some carriers are saying that it's the shippers that are to blame, that they're just trying to save a buck here and there. And all of these are true, but the reality is it's way more intricate than that. See, it only takes one person in either party, carrier or broker, who doesn't feel like negotiating to kill the rate of the load. Have you ever done that? Have you ever seen a load that's posted that you knew you could make money on without negotiating and you end up taking it without negotiating because number one, you're afraid that if you do not, someone else will take it for that rate. And number two, you know you're making money on it. Well, if you have done this, you are not the only one. Of course, I have done this in the past. I'm not going to deny it. But here's the thing. If we're looking just at one load, between a shipper, broker, and carrier, and if we just forget about how it affects the market as a whole when many people do that, when a carrier doesn't negotiate a load rate, it only affects that carrier, right? If you decide that you can still make money on this load without negotiation, it affects your profit and loss. However, when a broker doesn't negotiate, it also affects the carrier. So if you haven't guessed already, or if you didn't know this, very often brokers will bid on loads the same way carriers bid on loads, and the cheapest carrier or broker wins in the current market. Okay, so the story. According to Overdrive, John A. Rogers, a broker, and I quote, manages freight for a few shippers running a few hundred loads a month, mostly food, carpeting, and a little hazmat. Even though Rogers isn't a shipper and does not represent himself as a shipper, he gets cold calls and emails from other brokers looking to take on his book of freight. So what does Rogers do when he gets emails from other brokers? Well, and I love people like this, he starts having fun with it. According to Overdrive, when he gets an email from a broker, he replies something like this: "Man, you could not have emailed me at a better time. Please quote the following: hazmat, reefer, temp control 50 degrees constant, UN, there is a number there, IBC totes of nitroglycerin, 12 totes, 42,000 pounds, Tampa, Florida to Fresno, California." All right, so that we're all on the same page, just so you know, the distance between Tampa, Florida and Fresno, California is from 2,666 miles to 2,772 miles, depending on which route you take. So what does the broker who is trying to get this load from Rogers say? Well, here's a screenshot, and this is from Rogers' LinkedIn post, which I'll attach down below. They say that drivers are asking from $4,600 to $4,650 for this type of load. Guys, who the fuck is asking for this type of rate? I mean, raise your hand. Now that's from $1.62 to $1.72 per mile depending on the route. The broker continues to say that I have word with one of my potential drivers and he's willing to do this for $45.50. So what does Rogers reply? Well, he replies like a boss. This is the only way I can refer to him at this point. For hazmat and nitroglycerin, $45.50, are you sure? This chemical is used in making dynamite. This stuff will explode if it goes over 55 degrees. I have been paying 14 grand. Can you confirm your rate? Now, there were other issues with how Rogers presented this load, from the UN number being wrong to the fact that nitroglycerin does not move in IBC totes. But the problem, which Rogers explains, is, and I quote, No way a legitimate hazmat carrier who's required to carry $5 million in liability insurance would haul for the rates suggested. They would never do that for $4,500 or even $6,000. The brokers are quoting it like a dry van. Now, Overdrive says that all of these brokerages are commission driven. If you make $1,000 spread between what you're charging the customer and you're paying the carrier, those guys might get 30% commission. So that's $300 to them. Though it may seem like a small amount to many millions of people inside the US, it's a ton basically for people who are outside of the US. So what's the problem with the current industry? Well, a lot, but this is one of the biggest ones. Number one, brokers are now trying to get loads from other brokers, which is explained as a gray area between double brokering and co-brokering. But the bigger issue is that they bid like absolute morons. See, if it was a real shipper and if it was a real load and the broker bid $45.50 because they have a driver who will take it for $45.50 on a load that can literally explode at any moment, how much would they actually sell it for? $1.40, $1.20 on the spot market? It all has a trickle-down effect, right? So yeah, I just wanted to share this ridiculousness with you guys. And next time you see a load posted on the load board, remember that it might be because that broker just needed the volume and put in an extremely low bid on that load that you are now paying for with your life. So how is it that brokers are shutting down and going out of business? That's how. Anyway, guys, have an awesome weekend and I will see you in the next video.